lele wano yana no e. Ora no ye ano ine li ane yoga i me. Ai mai no gago. Ai di uno me ge aloha aloha mai ka mokupuni o ke ave a hiki ka mokupuni o ka herelani o ko mako velina no ke ia he aloha aloha nui. Welcome to our broadcast today of Mele Huliāmahi. We'd like to thank our sponsors first of all. We have of course Kanai o Kana as well as Kahuli Leo Le'a. We're producing this today in mahalo and in recognition for the community groups and families of Maui that we're going to celebrate. My name is Cody Poyopata. I'm going to be one of the hosts today, along with my good lawyer friend, Mr. Lance D. Collins. I'd also like to introduce our musical guests today. We have the fabulous award-winning group called Keauho. And Keauho consists of Kahanuola Soterio and the Lum brothers, or the brothers Lum, Zach and Nick, and they're joined today by our musical maven friend, Mr. Jeff Auhoi. And so to say Keauho and Jeff Auhoi, it's kind of bulky. So we're going to contract it into Keauhoi. I'd like to toss this back now to Zach, Zach Lum from Keauhoi. Keauhoi.
Mahalo pueo no ke ia inoa ho o Keauhoi. Ole paha ke he inoa ho o ye mamua o kapa ia no hoi mako o Keauhoi. Jeff, how come you don't have the same picture as us on this thing? I'm looking at it. Are you paddling here? Is that what's going on? Cool.
That's Kai Kahoi.
Oh, yeah, Kai Kahoi. Mahalo pueo, mahalo for for being our master of ceremonies today. It's going to be really fun. We're all set up here. We're in Ahui Manu. Pueo, where you stay?
Pukalani.
Pukalani. And Lance, where are you?
Alelele Makawao.
Wow. So we are like on 2 different islands and 3 different living rooms. So we're really excited to be sharing some of these Mele Huliāmahi. And I'm just going to read some of this material that basically summarizes what this presentation will look like. So we start with this idea of hulihia, which is literally to be overturned. It describes a situation in which that which was on the surface, familiar and connected to us, goes beneath the surface and ultimately out of our reach. In situations of hulihia, our initial feeling may be that of loss. However, hulihia, by definition, also brings to surface that which was once beneath, which was once hidden or initially foreign. This process ultimately brings new life, new understandings, new perspectives. We are currently in a state of hulihia. From stands of solidarity for our sacred places to a worldwide pandemic and so much more in between, we're witnessing a time of change where existing ideas are replaced by renewed ones. In these times of hulihia, Kanaka are called to Huliāmahi, to act in unison and in great numbers. As we Huliāmahi, we gather, we organize, and we cooperate toward a unified goal. And ultimately, this goal is Aloha Aina. That is, to actively restore and maintain the balance between environment and Kanaka. Our expressions of Aloha Aina are many, but one of its oldest expressions is mele, which is the vocalization of expertly crafted words and intentions. Haku mele, those who compose mele, document Aina. They document the experiences of places and people and weave it into the collective understandings established through generations of mele. As we sing these mele, they become acts of Aloha Aina. They become reminders of our role as Kanaka in Aina. Mele is a unique ancestral technology that allows us to tap into our environment, into our people, and bring about Huliāmahi. Over the past century, the island of Maui has seen its fair share of hulihia, from reclaiming sugarlands to shoreline access, from sewage pollution to water diversions. As an awareness for Aloha Aina rose in the past few decades, community groups, families, and individuals came together. Ua Huliāmahi lako to stand for the rights of Aina and the Kanaka who continue to live by its values. These are their stories that we share with you today, captured and recalled at the tip of the tongue through these Mele Huliāmahi.
I think we're at a critical point in needing to change the way we as humans interact with Aina, our natural counterpart. There's certainly a growing consciousness and engagement surrounding the protection and management of resources, especially perhaps effectuating important environmental and traditional and customary Native Hawaiian rights.
Maintaining these areas that allow us to access our natural resources are very important for us to keep the connection between us and land, us and our natural resources, us and our food, whatever it may be. Simply start with us, start small, make these small changes. It'll have a dramatic impact on the entire world.
It's a no-brainer. Kama Aina and practitioners know these places the best. For me, this is particularly exciting when, in cases like this, community organizations, legal and political systems acknowledge and cite to Ike Hawaii. These partnerships are increasingly necessary and integral to reclaiming these spaces and empowering Hawaii.
I think it's important for us, not only as Hawaiians, but as people in general, to really respect and take care of our natural resources. Because without us taking care of it and restoring it to what it used to be, then it will cease to exist.
Mele and the hula that follow offer a unique opportunity to highlight the value of these Aina. We remember these place names and their historical significance, but we also reorient them in its present-day context.
Honokowai talks about the land, Honokowai, the Aina. The first verse, we talk about Ai Kanani o Honokowai, in the beauty of Honokowai. There's the Pali Hina Hina of Ka'anapali, which is a Olalono Eo that I found for the Ka'anapali area. And in my interpretation, Hina Hina is gray, and the reason why they call it that is because the rain falls on the Pali side, and when you see it, it actually looks like the Pali is gray. The second verse talks about the fishery of Ha'ena Nui, that's seaward of where we are. The reef was teeming with life, and now because of the injection wells and the pollution going into the water, it's pretty much decimated. I wrote that verse to bring awareness to that and also to bring a hope that the reefs will revive to what they previously were. The third verse talks about returning to the shore where the sand dunes are of Wainalu. Covering all the sand dunes, there's the Pohuihue, which is the plant with the purple flower. Fourth verse talks about Lanai and looking over the Au channel to see Lanai in the distance in the sea spray. That's it. Ha'ina.
ai kanani, aho hono kopai. Hey. Simply fabulous. Thank you, Kelhoi. That's so awesome. Now, today we're going to highlight contemporary stories of Aloha Aina, the legal battles and successes on Maui, all through the medium of mele. These mele were not only composed to remember these struggles, but they also weave in names, characteristics, mo'olelo, and people of these Aina. And even more appropriately, we use this practice of mele to celebrate. We celebrate the recent win at the US Supreme Court, and we thank those who have worked tirelessly on this issue. Now, that mele, Honokowai, was written by Nick Lum, and we'll announce soon how you can access these mele and these lyrics, and also the mana'o of these mele. But I want to mahalo Kanai Okana and Kahuli Leolea for choosing this mele as the first mele to begin this series today. The term Nahonwa Pi'ilani, even Kahono Namoku, honors Pi'ilani. Those are epithets that were created, we hear, from his son Kiha Pi'ilani, and they honor how Pi'ilani was able to join Molokai and Lanai and Maui into one government. So the hono in there, people often say hono means the bays of Pi'ilani, but hono also means a joining. And this Mele Huliāmahi, it asks us in the community to join together. Now that Supreme Court case was about injection wells. So hono ko means the joining together that comes together for fulfillment, I would say, and wai, of course, for the importance of water. And so this is such an appropriate mele to begin this Mele Huliāmahi segment for us. Lance, after that first mele for Honokowai, I have a question for you. Now that the community has won the Supreme Court case, what's next for us?
Well, for this particular case, the Supreme Court ruled that that the lower courts had used the wrong test and gave them guidance on what to do. And so now the question becomes, is the county going to get a permit for what it's doing, or is it going to continue to spend millions of dollars to get further legal clarity on how they're supposed to get the permit? So in this case, it's a win for the community, and hopefully the county recognizes that it's in everybody's interest to stop fighting and to move forward with not injecting the water and to reuse it, which of course, if the water were more reused, there would be less need to divert water from, for example, Honokohau Stream, so that there's water for the in-stream uses, including the kalo farmers in Honokohau.
And of course, Mauka to Makai flow affects to the benefit of everybody in that community, from the fish and the limo in the ocean to the people who depend on it. So thank you so much for all of your hard work in getting that one for us. And for those of you watching, if you're inspired by these mele and mo'olelo, we encourage you to donate to this cause. Through PayPal, if you want to make a donation, you can go to treasurer@westmauiconference2017.org. So through PayPal or through treasurer@westmauiconference2017.org. Now the donations will go to support the production of Huliāmahi Volume 1. And that's an album on these and other Mele Huliāmahi, whose proceeds will go to the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation. So it's a very important project for us. And we'll explain a little bit more about the importance of mele as forms of mo'olelo to come. We'd also like to encourage you to share what we're doing today, share if you can. And we'd like to, of course, say a big mahalo to all of the cross-posting organizations that have agreed to help us. They include Hawaiian 105, Kahuli Leolea, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, Kanilea Ukulele, HK West Maui Community Fund, Keauho Band, Kamehameha Schools, North Beach West Maui Community Fund, Manamele, Kāko'o Haleakala, Pu'uhonua o Pu'uhuluhulu, Hui o Nawai Eha, Mauna Kahalawai Watershed Partnership, Kalamai, Native Hawaiian Student Services, OEV TV, Waiwai Collective, Leina Honua Pi'ilani, and CNHA. And you can download these mele and the mana'o for these mele at waihona.net. Once again, you can access these mele and their mana'o at waihona.net. It's my honor to introduce the next two songs. And my co-host Lance has written these beautiful intros for these two mele. So I'm gonna go ahead and read them to you. This next song is Hanaka'o'o by Keoho's Nick Lum. And if you have their albums, you might remember the song called Mauna Lua Ike Kai Paki. And that song he wrote for me. It talks about the naupata. But of course, that's not the mele, that's not the mo'olelo, it's shared widely. And it's the same with Hanaka'o'o. He wrote this song for me because he liked the way I can work my o'o. But anyhow, of course, the last verse ends with Napili. Napili. I'm not saying anything, but this is what we're supposed to tell you about this mele, Hanaka'o'o. Thanks, Nick. A dozen Hawaiian and other ocean users who have been active in perpetuating traditional and customary ocean practices and shoreline access for local families joined together and created Na Papa'i Wawai Ula Ula. And that's an allusion to the former derogatory term for people from the Ka'anapali district as red-footed. Na Papa'i Wawai Ula Ula filed a series of lawsuits in Maui's environmental court seeking to protect and revitalize access to the shoreline, both directly with access pathways and indirectly with appropriate state review and management of commercial activities that actually impacted shoreline access. Now the cases span from Hanaka'o'o, the northernmost ahupua'a of the Moko of Lahaina, and several ahupua'a of Ka'anapali, Mahinahina, Kahananui, Honokeana, and like I mentioned, Napili. The second song is going to be Aloha Aina o Kaua'ula, and that was written by Zach Lum. And what Lance wrote about this was that the Kapu family has endured 20 years of litigation with Makila Land Company, a subsidiary of West Maui Land, the development company that bought out Pioneer Mills' claims to Kuleana lands throughout West Maui. Now, spanning half a dozen lawsuits and appeals, including 2 successful appeals before the Intermediate Court of Appeals and 2 pending Supreme Court cases, this mele focuses on the case involving Apana 1 of the ili called Apa'a. After a week-long trial involving Hawaiian language experts and the Ohana's Mo'oku'auhau, the jury found that Makila Land Company did not have an interest in the Apana and that the heirs of Apa'a, the Kapu family, actually did. The decision was recently affirmed on appeal. We'd like to toss this back to Keauho.
Halo korupua pata.
You're welcome.
We're gonna have a talk after this.
such a positive sounding melody too. Thank you so much again, Nick, for that beautiful composition. It brought tears. Chicken skin for the right reasons. Ikekai ki. Okay. Lance, you know, for that song, what does the Uwala reference in the 4th verse talk about?
So in the Land Commission Awards, in the Mele testimony, in the native testimony, to the award to Joba Malo and Manuai, they both refer to this area as a Kula Uwala Ma Honokeana.
There you go.
So that's the references to what it was used before it became a condo.
Yeah, gosh, you know, all of those lands have been, all of those lands have kind of been inundated by things that have impacted most of the time negatively our natural resources. And when we talk about food sovereignty or dependence on outside sources for food, Uwala is such an important crop, especially here on Maui. And so when we know that those places were used to raise Uwala, hopefully it inspires us to regrow those again in the future. Our kupuna left those blueprints for us to follow, and mele like this allow the lehu to know more about those things and hopefully to be inspired to pick up those practices once again. And at this time, I'd like to shoot it back to Keauhoi for their mele, Aloha Aina o Kaua Ula.
Is Keauhoi with the I at the end or Y?
You know, it depends on which language you're speaking and spelling.
So it's not Keauhoi though, yeah?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Only at the end.
Okay. For the Ohana Kapu.
Beautiful, beautiful tune. Thank you for that, Mele. Zach, now that Mele produced or contains several place names and names for wahipana that aren't now commonly found in mainstream society, and they include Mauna Kawahine, which is another name for the back mountain, which is also called Pu'uwaiohina. You mentioned Makila. Now Makila, we see it on maps, but you know, you included this name Makila in the Mele, and for people who are interested in dialects, between the different islands, Makila tells us that at least the people in Lahaina used that word, makila, instead of the more common word that other islands use for manai, which is to sow. So in land names, we get a kind of a glimpse of the different dialects that are favored in an area. And when they're included in Mele, it gives us a chance to pass these words and these names along to the different generations below us. We also have Ku'ia and Pa'upa'u, which is, now they call it Mount Ball, or the L Hill, where Lahaina Luna has the L for it, but Pa'upa'u is the traditional name, means hard work. And of course, to win this battle for the Kapu family, there was a lot of hard work. Now, Lance, for that song, Aloha Aina Kawa'ula, it talks about, of course, the Kapu Ohana and their claims to the land in Kawa'ula. I just gave a small segment of place names in Olelo, Hawaii, but I understand that the use of Olelo, Hawaii was pivotal in the case itself. Can you share a little bit of that story with us?
Sure. So there were two documents that became pivotal in the case that had to do with Olelo. And the first was a lease from an individual who claimed to be related to a pa'a, referring to him as Makua Kane. And the question which was posed to the jury was that the land company insisted that that could only mean father. And although there was no other evidence that this particular individual actually even existed, but to the extent that he did, there was no evidence that he was the father, that he was the son of a pa'a. And the other area had to do with, in the native testimony and the Land Commission awards, it refers to the parcel as the Kuleana a Kekua, which was the widow of a pa'a. And the translator for the land company had, in her deposition and some other things, had translated Kuleana a Kekua to, I can't even tell you, it was like a paragraph long, but it was this way that sort of undermined what we think Kuleana a Kekua meant, which was it was her Kuleana. And so when she was on the stand, when you have an expert, you have to qualify them first, and each side can ask questions. So we asked her to translate a number of commonly known proper names that have the a in it, like Haleakala, Honua Pi'ilani, Maui Nui Akama. And in each of those translations, she said of. It was just very simple. It wasn't a paragraph. It was just of. So when we got to cross-examining her about, well, what does Kuleana a Kekua mean, she dropped the paragraph and agreed that it was the land of Kekua, which ended up being a very significant point.
There you go. So I know that we have this resurgence of our language. I know we've moved beyond saving the language, but now we're bringing it back to even where we can use it in the court systems for our benefit once again as Kanaka Maui o Keia Aina. So thank you for that. That's so inspiring. And I'd also like to point out that one of my hula students, Kamakako Lenny Gramberg, she just wrote the first legal paper in Hawaiian language since, of course, the overthrow era. So Hawaiian language in the courts is making a comeback. So mahalo nui for that. This next song that we have, I'm feeling the pressure right now, is one that I was asked to compose. And I'm going to read Lance's beautiful explanation for this. So the name of the mele is O Loalui Ke Kei Mopua, under the purported authority of an emergency tsunami disaster declaration. The State Department of Transportation sought to build a seawall, which is called a panikai, at Olowalu, long sought by the Department of Transportation. A seawall would destroy a popular surfing, fishing, and gathering area in the process without the normal environmental and cultural reviews required by law. Archie Kalepa and Save Olowalu spearheaded a lawsuit in Maui's environmental court to stop this work. With no decision by the courts and construction imminent, dozens of families pitched tents and camped out directly in front of the bulldozers next to the highway. The state and the group settled on a handshake that the contract would be canceled. and development of the coastline will be required to go through the appropriate environmental review process and consider cultural impacts before being permitted to proceed. So that's going to be Olowalu Ike Kai Mopua. And the mele after that was written by Zach Lum. It's called He Aloha E Kapua O Ke Ko. And the explanation for this reads, led by the 4,000 plus member Stop Cane Burning Group. Now that's a Huliāmahi. 4,000 plus member Stop Cane Burning Group that included Hawaiian cultural practitioners as well as others impacted by ANB's business practices. Community members filed the first environmental court case in the state of Hawaii. This case challenged the state's permitting of Alexander and Baldwin's cane burning operations. The lawsuit was based on ANB's use of Kingdom-era roads into their operations. The group also challenged the myth that cane burning had been widespread before the 1920s, or that it was a Kingdom-era tradition. After court-ordered mediation, ANB agreed to restrict burning in what was its final harvest. And I remember those days of cane burning very, very well. We'd like to dedicate this song, Olowalu Ke Kai Mopua, to Archie Kalepa, and of course, Save Olowalu. And there's still a community group up there, the Olowalu Cultural Reserve Commission too, that are fighting for Olowalu. And in this song, there aren't place names mentioned. Genealogies are included, including Lihau, which is the mountain above Olowalu, Lihauwe Eke Eke Kalani, and her parents Kilea and Punahoa. They created an ohana around which the community was centered. And once again, the community came around that area, infiltrated Iloko no Kahana Huliāmahi to Kako'o, and to stand against Kepanikai, which are the seawalls. Yauhoi,
Oh,
you're up next. Take it away.
Keo ho'i now, yeah?
Oh, that's it. That's it.
He aloha e ta pua o ke ko, pua ke ko, ku ka he e ia mai la no kai uli na kula o na hipika pika. Mai wai ka pula I pule hu ka hele na o ke ala o ai ko. Ai ai ka o palai ka ili na wai e hui ai na wai ka na o ka aina. Mai u ka papa ula I pali uli ka hele na o ke ala holo I ke la. Tala lea e la o punene I ka nehe nehe o ke kihi lepa lepa. Mai ki hei la I makawa ka hele na o ke ala holo I ke kula pule hului o maupi o ka liali nui a pue o amaka e hua e. Pua na e ka pua o ke ko, pua ke ko a e lau kona e waele mua ka ko ui ke ala ma hope ho I lako na poki e waele mua ka ko ui ke ala ma hope ho I lako na poki.
Gorgeous. Thanks for that, Meleza.
Mahalo.
Now, earlier I played this ukulele, and if you look at Kahanuola's ukulele as well, we like to give a shout out to our ukulele sponsor, Kanile'a Ukulele. They're always wonderful, provide wonderful support for us. They're also a green company, and it's our honor, Kanu's in mind, to support and to sport these wonderful ukulele. The meta that I composed for Olowalu, I'd like to ask Lance to talk a little bit about Olowalu to us and how the community groups eventually settled with this state.
So in the Olowalu case, a little bit interesting maybe to viewers, the state was using an emergency proclamation to not have to follow any of the review. And people who follow these kinds of cases closely will know if you try to get an injunction, the statute does not allow you to immediately go to court. It has to be a 3-panel judge for Mauna Kea when Mr. Nevis challenged the blockade under the emergency proclamation last year. A special 3-judge court was appointed, and it took some time for the injunction to be heard. And so we filed for an injunction in the Olowalu case, but because of this process and the fact that it was a neighbor island, it ended up taking a lot longer, and it looked like the court may never hear the injunction. And when that happened, the families basically went out and pitched tents, and members of the community, when they would go to work or come back, they would drop off water and food and fuel. And it was that really resolved the matter, because when the state realized that they couldn't use procedural delays to protect themselves from judicial review, then Ford Fujigami, who was the director of transportation at that time, he sat down with Archie and the other people involved and basically on a handshake agreed to the resolution. So
we're super grateful for that. Like that type of community, that type of Huliāmahi effort does result in positive change for the betterment of the entire society eventually, right? And you know, the mele that Zach composed for He Aloha Ika Pua o Ke Ko, it talks about a pretty well-known case surrounding the burning of sugarcane here on Maui. And many of us may have heard about this famous story, but can you share some perspectives that many may not know?
So I think, people may not have been focused on the details, but the detail of the case itself was that there are these old government roads that parts of them had been incorporated into the fields. And as everybody knows, if you use county or state land, you are required to conduct in some kind of environmental review, either an environmental assessment or an impact statement. And in order to get a government permit, well, you need a permit to engage in agricultural burning. And so the groups challenged the fact that these permits were being issued every year, but no environmental review had ever occurred. And I should say that this case settled without that being fully determined one way or the other. But in the case itself, sort of the smoking gun about are these actually old government roads was that Alexander and Baldwin had done an appraisal and tried to buy the roads from the county back in the 1980s, and Mayor Tavares said no. And so we just happened to find a copy of that. And so in the end, it was resolved by their final harvest being reduced. And I should just also say that you know, the same folks who are leading Stop Cane Burning were also working with the Sierra Club, represented by Earth Justice, and challenged how A&B was able to make sugar profitable. And that was that at the mill, they were burning coal and charging renewable agricultural energy rates, and they could actually shut down the windmills if they wanted to, so that they could burn coal. And through this other avenue that these groups were represented by Earth Justice, the Public Utilities Commission ended up terminating that special deal. And within a week of them doing that, that was when A&B announced that they were shutting down sugar operations. So
there you go. You know, that's the type of unaccountability that we are plagued with today, where just for the profit of a small group, the entire community will kind of suffer for it. And growing up in Kihei, we had to go to high school at Baldwin in Wailuku. And so it's far, we had to catch the bus really early, and they used to burn the sugarcane lands at night. So wherever they're burning in central Maui, the fallout hit Kihei, and it was my mom's biggest bane. You had little drifts of black ash that came down, and at the bus stop, we'd be waiting there, and the black snow falls upon you. And you learn quickly not to rub it off, because you're gonna have to wear that all day. And so if you blow and it doesn't come off, you lick your finger and you touch it, and then you wipe it on your sister. And that's exactly what I did, which I'd like to thank my sister, Mariah Mossman. This is her home here that I'm able to broadcast from. But I remember those days, and I remember asthma being just some common malady that everybody basically had. And when I think about it, you know, they burned the plastic piping for the water. They burned up into smoke, whatever industrial fertilizers or pesticides, herbicides that went up. That all came down along with those black cinders. So thank you for your hard work and getting that done for us. Mahalo, mahalo. The next set of songs that we're going to do take us to an area that is today known as South Maui, or Makena, Wailea, Makena area. Again, more place names are brought out. The next song is going to be Payaso, and this was written by Nick Lum. I see it's not written for me, but that's okay. We'll include it anyways. But Lance's explanation says, led by families and individuals living in or connected to Honua'ula, and that's the moku, the traditional moku, where Wailea and Makena are found. Native Hawaiians and others were successful in obtaining the required preservation of over 100 acres of land originally slated for luxury development. Their efforts included multiple lawsuits, including one case decided by the Hawaii Supreme Court, Kanahele versus Maui County Council. Their successful advocacy preserved Aina and Honua'ula for cultural practices, historic preservation, and endangered native species, as well as the preservation of historic roads and trails. Now, we talked earlier about the uala in the Honokowai song, and Payahu, just in the name, it tells us that our kupuna there planted uala as well. The Payahu are the rows of ahu that the stone structures that they were able to use for the uala farming. And after that mele, we have the mele called Makena, written by Kahanuola Solitario. And this is what Lance wrote. It says, Ho'oponopono o Makena is a community group of Hawaiian traditional and customary practitioners. They filed suit in Maui's environmental court to require developers in Makena to protect historic, traditional, and customary practices and the places that those practices are rooted in. After obtaining a temporary restraining order to prevent development, the parties met for months and settled the case with numerous terms that are favorable to Makena and other South Maui families. I'm going to turn it back to Kiauho'i for presentation of these two beautiful mele.
Take a breath.
Gorgeous. Kaya o Makena. Aina ho he no ona kupaina. Gorgeous. You know, I noticed too that all of these mele have pretty much so far really upbeat songs. And Zach, earlier you mentioned about hulihia, and hulihia is never comfortable for anybody involved. Even if we're looking forward to a hulihia, we still have to accept change in that. And these mele have served the purpose to record hulihia, and we're now at the point where through the melodies, the joyous melodies of these songs, we see that we've actually been able to acclimate to the hulihia and to adopt and adapt ourselves to this hulihia, and it becomes the new norm. So very, very skillful writing, man. I'm so appreciative for what you've done. Lance, with that first mele, Payahu, can you tell us some things that you've learned about the ahupua'a of Payahu, Palauea, Keauhou in your years of representing community groups?
I think to add to what you were saying is that, you know, and actually this is true of all of the cases, is that, you know, the land, you know, it has its thing, and the kupuna have their thing, and they will speak to you, and even if you don't want to listen, they will do their thing. Yes. And I think especially with all of the stuff with Honua Ula, it's unmistakable that the land wanted something, and you know, we became the tools for what the land wanted, for sure. At least that's how I feel about it.
I totally agree with that. And you know, what Zach said earlier was whatever was on top gets pushed down, and the things on the bottom get brought up. And so if we change that from present to past, what you just said was we're finally allowing the land to speak to us again from the past through the language of our kupuna. When we look at even the place names like Payahu itself, it tells us what actually can grow there, how that community can thrive there. And so those things are brought back. It's not comfortable for the people that are dependent on water from upcountry or from the Spreckles ditch. But change, if it happens, we will acclimate ourselves to it if it's this positive community-based change. And what about for Makena, the Mele Makena? What are some things that people might be surprised about that settlement or the agreement?
Well, I think people think of when cultural practitioners or environmentalists go to court, they are just trying to stop things and trying to, you know, hurt whatever. But, you know, with the agreement in Makena, one of the really great things was that it requires the developer to develop all of its affordable housing requirement in the district. And in fact, some of it is going to be just Mauka of the road, so that we don't have the situation where these lands are built out and then all of the people all of the like local people have to live 20 miles, 30 miles away. And so there's supposed to be a preference for people who have a genealogical connection to the area, but the requirement is that all of the affordable housing that will be built because of this development will be done in the district and not be just pushed off to central Maui somewhere.
Yeah, and you know, people will say, well, Hawaiians are being displaced, but they're still in Hawaii. We consider that population a diaspora now, because all of their genealogy, all of the familial knowledge that they've been able to inherit that have allowed them to thrive in that area for generations, they become divorced from that. And now they become part of the diaspora. If they move to Honolulu, perhaps, nothing that they're familiar with from Maui can help them in Honolulu. And so that type of displacement has become acceptable, but it actually is one of the reasons why so much land-based knowledge no longer gets passed on. Because if that family in Honolulu now from Maui passes on Maui information, it doesn't help the child, it doesn't help them in Honolulu. So it's that type of diaspora that has to stop, in my opinion. Now, these mele are a form of mo'olelo, right? Mo'olelo, something that's passed on successively, either, you know, amongst people in one time or one generation, but also that get passed down from generation to generation. And so mele, even olelo no eau as mo'olelo, are meant to convey mana'o, meant to, whatever that mana'o is going to be, whether it's positive, negative, it's going to get passed down. And so these types of songs that are documenting recent legal battles, this is mo'olelo also. Another meaning is history that we intend through the medium of mele to be passed around and passed down to the next generations. So if you'd like to make a donation for this project, Mele Huliāmahi, please look us up on PayPal. The email would be treasurer@westmauiconference2017.org, and there you go. I believe it's on your screen. We have basically 2 mele left, but this is the mele that's kind of going to close or bring our segment together, and it's called Nakama Puko'a Kani Aina, written by one of my former students who has become a good friend of mine and who also had to marry Zach Lam, the Pulikako. Her name is
OBJ.
Hanigawa Lam. And the introduction for this mele is so beautiful. And it says, Na Puko'a Kama is a South Maui community group composed of Native Hawaiian and other South Maui shoreline users. To halt and reverse the impacts of South Maui injection wells on the shoreline ecology and their use of the shoreline, they filed a lawsuit against the county in 2009 regarding the injection wells in South Maui. The court remanded the matter to the Department of Health, who did nothing for many years. Eventually, as the Lahaina injection wells case came before the Supreme Court, and the group agreed to settle their case, knowing that the result in the Lahaina case would determine South Maui's future. So this one effect, or something that happens in one place can affect the outcome in another, and they're all tied together, especially in legal cases. So when you set a precedent here, it can be for the benefit of everybody else, and that's what this mele depicts. Nakama Puko'a Kani Aina. Wow. You know, that song, and in relation to injection wells, Ui talked about Pu'uokali, Pu'uhele. These are two hills. And it says that the daughter is Inaina, and Inaina was a mo'o. Now, they were all mo'o, but Pu'uhele and Pu'ukali were turned into those hills that you can see. And of course, Molokini, when Inaina challenged Hi'iaka, or some say Pele, she was chopped into 3 pieces. It says that while Inaina stretched from Maui across to Kaho'olawe, while she stretched from Maui to Kaho'olawe, she was a mo'o, right? That she challenged Pele or Hi'iaka, was chopped into 3 pieces. Her tail became Molokini and her body became Ola'i. And her head Inaina is on Kaho'olawe. Now, the kupuna knew water courses and could probably predict what would happen with injection well. A mo'o, of course, is symbolic of water. And so to say that this lizard, this mo'o, stretched itself from Maui to Molokini means that they were aware that the lava tube system under there allowed for the upwellings of fresh water that were founded on Maui. Now, she mentioned in this Mele Akule and Halalu, but I'll also say Opelu. And those things thrive off the plankton, which proliferate where fresh water meets seawater. And so that area between Molokini and Maui became such rich fishing grounds. And the mother of Inaina, the 2 hills, and the parents of Inaina became the landmarks that those fishermen could find their ko'a, or find their fishing grounds. So as far as injection wells are concerned, if something is injected into the aquifer there, it's gonna pop up between Maui and Molokini. The kupuna were so smart. They recorded these things in our mo'olelo, and now we have a chance to pass it on to this particular mele. So great job, Ui. I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. Lance, now, can you tell us more about how the West Maui win at the U.S. Supreme Court affected the injection wells in South Maui?
Well, the decision at the U.S. Supreme Court affects all of the big injection wells. Any injection well that is the functional equivalent of a direct discharge into the ocean is covered by this ruling. So the injection wells in Kahului, the injection wells in South Maui, I know there are some cultural practitioners that are trying to limit the use of injection wells by hotels in South Maui. Those will be affected. I've heard on the Big Island that there's a number of injection wells north of Hilo, where basically partially treated sewage is being almost directly discharged into the ocean by using injection wells on the tops of cliffs. So this ruling is very big, and it really is going to change how certain parts of the ocean, the nearshore ocean, have turned into a cesspool for polluters.
Thank you so much for that important work. Water is the foundation of life. Water is the foundation of our traditional economy. And only until recent times did we begin to abuse it. And now we're suffering those effects. So what you folks are doing, the type of hulihia, you're bringing those things back for all of us to benefit. Thank you so very much.
I just want to put in one little plug. If any of the viewers are interested in more of the details about how this case at the U.S. Supreme Court may affect what they're looking at, I would strongly recommend that Sierra Club Maui Group is hosting a number of experts and community groups next Tuesday evening. I believe at 6 o'clock. You can go to their Facebook page for more information. They're going to be having a live webinar to discuss in much more detail what the impact of this ruling is and what its significance is. So I know there's a number of groups across the islands that are wondering how this affects them. And if they are interested in that, I would go to the Sierra Club Maui Group's page for more information.
Thank you. And also, if you're interested in the lyrics, the mana'o of these mele that you're hearing today, or you've heard today, go to waihona.net. And if you'd like to support us, once again, you can do it through PayPal. The email for that is treasurer@westmauiconference2017.org. Thank you folks for joining us so much. We really appreciate this, your attention in allowing us to make these mele become mo'olelo. Make these mele pass from one person to the next so that we can spread our message. We'd like to also congratulate all of the people who are involved in the win for Honokowai. Thank you so much for your hard work. Like all of Maui and the generations after us will benefit because of that. We'd like to talk also about the Aloha Aina. The concept of Aloha Aina, it's translated as either love for the land or patriotism. And when it comes to patriotism, I believe it comes from Latin for fatherland or honoring your fatherland, as opposed to our concept, which is Aloha Aina, which is love, empathy, sympathy, and compassion for the Aina and everything that can grow on it or is affected by it. So our concept of patriotism is very different than the mainstream Western society of patriotism. Aloha Aina on Maui is very strong. I'm so proud to say that a lot of the cases that have happened here have affected the rest of Hawaii for the benefit of all. And these Mele Huliāmahi, this program, we'd like to thank Kanai Okana and Kahuli Leolea for bringing this together. You know, the concept of Huliāmahi, you know, when you needed to get a field prepared, the whole community just shows up to Huliāmahi. When you're going to Hukilau, the whole community shows up to Huliāmahi. Well, we don't really do those things today, but we can still, you know, participate in that tradition by Huliāmahi around different problems, perhaps, or issues that our community faces, once again, for the benefit of the community. Now, these songs and more will be released in the months to come. So I hope you keep an eye and an ear out for those. Keoho and Jeff Ohoi, your music has been beautiful. Lance, it's been an honor and privilege to co-host with you. I hope to see you in person soon, probably with masks. And to all the technicians who have been working to make this successful, thank you so much. Once again, donations, a treasurer at westmauiconference2017.org through PayPal. We'd like to say mahalo, and we're going to close with the mele that has a melody familiar to all of us, but the lyrics are Maui based. I'd like to ask Zach if you can explain a little bit about this and then take us on out with Leina Honua Pi'ilani.
Sure. And mahalo to Pueo. I know there's so many people, I'm clapping for you, and everybody, there's so many other people clapping for you. And mahalo for hosting us, you and Lance, and taking us on this journey. I know this is going to be archived on Facebook so people can watch it after, but is there like a view count? Does somebody know like how many people are watching right now?
So my mom, my sister.
Oh, okay. So
all three people.
Three. No, there's hundreds and
I saw her.
There's over 1,000. Thousands. Okay, throughout the broadcast, there's over 1,000. So what's really cool about it is, you know, at this very moment, whether you tuned in later or you're watching this because it's already recorded, you've heard a lot of really cool songs, really amazing stories that are important, not just because they are stories that we tell, but it's because they affect us, and especially if you live on Maui, they affect you directly. And this whole Huliāmahi concept is this idea of making these stories the catalyst of your action, making your actions because of the feelings that you get from these stories. And what better way to tell these stories is from something that's pleasing to hear, and that being songs. But there is a difference. There's a difference between being a listener and then being an active listener and then actually being a participant, or being a singer in this. And whether you felt it throughout this broadcast or you felt it before, maybe, you know, your mind goes back to Mauna Kea or wherever, Waimanalo Kauku, wherever your mind may go in this instant. But at one point, I'm sure you felt that desire within you, that burning, right? That like, oh, I feel that, and I think I need to do something. That fire, right? That may be that aloha, that compassion, that empathy, that ability to connect to whatever you care about. And in this case, it's Aloha Aina. So what do you do when you have that fire, right? Do you just like let it burn until, you know, I'm gonna go do something else now. What's on Facebook? You know, oh, it's kanao, yay, kanao. So what's more important is to make sure that whatever you do, the fire doesn't go out. One of the easiest ways to keep that passion going is to reference all of these stories. And guess what? These stories are songs. So you can just sing these songs. So this last song that we're going to do is a very familiar tune. It's the tune of Hawaii Aloha. And you think about it, like you go to the, you know, your party, and at the end of the party, everybody's, you know, feeling good and singing their last song before everybody goes home. And in this case, what we are uncovering and has been uncovered already is the fact that this tune has different, there are different songs to this tune. There's one for the Ko'olau, where we are. There's one for Nahona Pi'ilani, Lei Nahona Pi'ilani, which we're gonna sing. There's one for Molokai. There's one for, I think there's one for Waianae. I think there's one for Lihue. There are all of these different ones that assign the feeling, the fire of Hawaii Aloha and Aloha Aina and put it specifically for Maui. So if you are watching from Maui right now, this is your Hawaii Aloha. This is like one step above Hawaii Aloha because you're from Maui. And this is you want to keep that fire going, then sing with us. And the words are going to be on the screen, and yeah, you already know the melody. So again, with that, mahalo nui, and we're gonna send us all off with this final mele, Lei Nahona Pi'ilani. E kalai o hauola. E kalai o hauola I ka emkai. Yeah, you better be singing along. E lahine e kilohine I kamakani. Me ke kai hone o ke awai ki ka hae hone. Ua I oe me la hono a pi'ilani. Lei Nahona Pi'ilani. Lei Nahona a pi'ilani ka hano hano. I ka hano hano. I ka hano hano. A ka malulu ole le ha'aheone. I ka loko mai ka I o ke akua. Kalehua o lihau. Te kalehua o lihau I ka mekiu. Me ka maile o halona e ala nei. E halia I ka wai o ke e hia. Hui pu mai le na hono a pi'ilani. Everybody sing along. Lei Nahona Pi'ilani. Lei Nahona a pi'ilani ka hano hano. I ka hano hano. I ka hano hano. A ka malulu ole le ha'aheone. I ka loko mai ka I o ke akua. I ka loko mai ka I o ke akua. I ka loko mai ka I o ke akua. Lei Nahona Pi'ilani.
Great job, everybody. Mahalo, everybody, for joining us today. Mahalo kanai okana, hauli leo le'a, and we do this in celebration of the community groups and families of Maui. Mahalo anui, ahui ho, aloha.
Mahalo Burns and Sound, Burns and Audio Tech. Thank you.